All right, in this video, I'm gonna try and keep it short by just talking about the slope of a line. You may have heard of this equation, y equals mx plus b. I am just gonna focus on the m part of that today. M is the slope of the line. Its slope tells us how steep a line is. That's going to have a higher slope than a line like this one, right? Because it's not so steep. It is still a line, though. It's still going up. It's just not, going up. And it'll tell us if we're going downhill or uphill. Don't use the words downhill or uphill. That's just the way I like to explain it. But these are both going uphill, so their slopes are positive numbers, right? This one would be going downhill from left to right, and it would be a negative number. The slope will be a negative number if it's going downhill. So, those are the things you need to keep in mind when talking about slope. Now, all we're focused on today is finding the slope of a line given 2 points that are on that line. So, just as a visual, let's actually let's graph these ordered pairs. 2, -1, go over 2, down 1. Okay. -5, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. -5. 1, 2, 3. Okay, so if there's a line connecting these 2 points, we know that line is perfectly straight and goes on forever in both directions. So it's going to look something like that. So visually, we already understand that our slope is going to be negative. Okay? And it's probably going to be kind of a low number because it's not steep. It's not steep. It's just kind of there. It's not going way down real fast. It's just kind of slowly going down fast. So that was just a visual to make sure that when we get our final answer, it makes sense. Does that make sense? So how do we find that slope just given these 2 points, just mathematically without drawing it and counting the steps, which I guess we could have done before while I had it all drawn out. But alas, we want to practice doing it mathematically first. So we have this formula here that is going to tell us what the slope is based on these numbers, y2, y1, x2, and x1. Now, what's with this, the ones and the twos? Well, you got to decide which point is going to be your 1 point and which point is going to be your 2. It doesn't matter? No. We could have this one be 1 and this one be 2, or vice versa. This one could be 2 and this one could be 1. But we're just going to go with this one is 1 and that one's 2 just because it's on the left when it was written out. So, m equals y2 minus y1. Hold on. One thing before we start. If this is point 1, and this is an ordered pair, what's an ordered pair? It's x, y, right? This will be x1, y1. And this one will be x2, y2. Got it? So if we're looking for x2, we're going to get -5, and y2 would be 3. x1 would be 2, and y1 would be -1. Just kind of helps to write that out. Okay, so m equals y2. Where's y2? There it is, 3. Okay, got the first one. Minus, got that negative, y1, where's that? Right here, negative 1. Very important to put the negative in there. Don't forget your signs. Now, the denominator, x2, negative 5, minus x1, which is 2. Minus a negative is actually a positive. You can do doof doof, which is a little rule that I learned way back when I was in school. Doof doof, you one doof for each line that you add. When it's a double negative, or if it's just a normal subtraction, you can do doof doof, and it would mean the same thing, adding the opposite. This is subtracting the opposite, which is just adding. So 3 plus 1 is just 4. Double positive doesn't mean you add 1 twice. No, it just means you add 1. Negative 5 plus negative 2, negative 7. So our slope is negative 4 over 7. It was negative, and it wasn't very steep, so it is a 4/7. Can we reduce that fraction? No, so we are done. Can we check that answer? Yeah, I could graph it again. 2, negative 1, negative 5, 3. There. Now, this is what slope is all about. The numerator is the rise. That's how much you rise. Okay? Because it's the y values, and the y-axis is how high you are. It's the vertical axis. The denominator is called the run because it's the x-axis, and it decides how much you run horizontally back, or right or left. Rise is up and down, run is right or left. So since this is negative, we're actually not rising, we're lowering, right? Because the opposite of rising is lowering. So we're going to go down 4. Negative 4, go down 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're down here, right? All the way down here. And then we run 7. That is not negative. That is positive. So we're going to go to the right 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And we wind up right at the next point in the line. Great way to check your answer. This, by the way, makes a right triangle. Just a little factoid. Now, what if I just ignored the rules of, putting the negative in the numerator there? What if I left the negative in the denominator? Well, I would say start with this point because you're going to go backwards. You're going to rise 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and you're going to run 7, but to the left, because the opposite of the positive direction is the negative direction. So we're running to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So you can go either way. You just gotta make sure your signs are correct and you're using them properly. Rise over run. Rise over run. Makes a nice rectangle there. All right. Another example and call it a video. Find the slope between these 2 points. Now, just for funsies, we'll call this one 2 and this one 0.1. So we get x2 and y2 over here, and x1, y1 over here. Okay. So m equals, what was that? It was a rise over run, right? I can remember that, but I can't remember which y's were where. Well, we know when there was x on the top or x or on the bottom. What? Now you erased our formula over there, so that can't help me. But a good way to remember it is just rise over run, rise over run. Rise is the y-axis, so that must be what's on the top. And it's always the 2's first minus the 1's. Rise, y's over y's over 1. Y's over x's. Rise over y's over 1. So that's how you remember y's are on top because it's a rise. And then the x's are in the bottom. Y's over x's. So we got -2 here minus 1. 6 minus 4. That's 2 over -2 minus 1 is -3. Slope is -2 over 3.